For much of the last century, America's economic policy was the backbone of its foreign policy, shaping the world in its image. The U.S. built a global order on open markets, free trade, and international institutions, aiming to foster peace and prosperity through economic interdependence. The logic nations that trade are less likely to go to war. This grand strategy helped win the Cold War and fueled global growth. But it wasn't just altruism. America gained new markets, resources, and made the dollar the world's reserve currency. American corporations and culture spread worldwide, reinforcing U.S. power. For decades, this seemed a win-win. The world prospered, and America grew stronger. Yet, the forces of globalization brought unintended consequences: China's rise, loss of U.S. manufacturing, and growing inequality. The old consensus on globalization has fractured. Now, skepticism about free trade and global institutions is reshaping America's economic and foreign policy. The U.S. is turning inward, questioning the very order it once built. Protectionism is back, and the value of global institutions is under scrutiny. This isn't a passing trend, it's a deep, structural shift. Understanding this change is key to grasping the future of global politics. The world is watching as America redefines its role. America's economic philosophy has shifted dramatically over the decades. It began with the New Deal, where government intervention was seen as essential to economic stability and growth. This approach built the American middle class and underpinned post-war prosperity. But the 1970s brought stagflation, and faith in government-led economics waned. Neoliberalism took hold, championing deregulation, privatization, and free trade. For 40 years, free markets were king. But the benefits were uneven. Inequality soared, and many felt left behind. The 2008 financial crisis shattered confidence in unregulated markets. Meanwhile, China's state-driven capitalism challenged the global system. Disillusionment grew, fueling a new wave economic nationalism. This isn't a fully formed ideology, but a reaction, prioritizing national interests, industries, and workers. It's skeptical of free trade and sees the global economy as a competition, not cooperation. Both Trump and Biden have embraced this shift, marking the biggest change in U.S. economic thinking in decades. The era of consensus is over. A new, more combative approach has taken its place. America's economic story is now one of adaptation to a changed world. Economic nationalism has armed the U.S. with new tools, most notably aggressive tariffs. Trump's trade war with China imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions in imports, breaking with decades of free trade orthodoxy. Biden has kept and expanded these measures, adding subsidies for domestic industries. The CHIPS Act and Inflation Reduction Act funnel billions into U.S. manufacturing, especially in semiconductors and green tech. These policies aim to reduce reliance on foreign supply chains, especially China's. Industrial policy, once taboo, is now central. Government is picking winners in strategic sectors. The goals secure supply chains and maintain a technological edge in a world of great power competition. America is shifting from universal free trade to managed strategic competition. This new approach is reshaping global economic relationships, even with allies. The era of predictable, rules-based trade is over. America's economic nationalism is straining alliances built on open markets and shared prosperity. Tariffs and domestic content rules have angered European and Asian allies, sparking subsidy races instead of cooperation. The EU and others are now developing their own protectionist policies in response. This competition erodes trust and unity among democracies, weakening their collective power. Asian allies caught between the US and China face tough choices that threaten their prosperity. America's unilateralism signals unreliability, pushing partners to hedge their bets. This creates openings for China to expand its influence through economic partnerships. In trying to protect its interests, America risks alienating the allies it needs most. The network of alliances that once underpinned U.S. power is fraying. The long-term cost a weaker, more divided democratic world. China's economic rise is staggering and immediate. It now produces nearly 30% of global manufacturing output, surpassing the US, Japan, and Germany combined. China leads in advanced sectors, making over 75% of the world's lithium-ion batteries and dominating rare earths, lithium, and cobalt processing. Its control of solar panel manufacturing exceeds 80% at every stage. These concentrations create vulnerabilities for the rest of the world. Since joining the WTO in 2001, China's GDP has soared from $1.3 trillion to over $18 trillion. It's the top trading partner for more than 120 countries, including many U.S. allies. The Belt and Road Initiative has deepened China's global economic ties. This economic clout translates into political influence, letting Beijing shape global norms. America's new economic nationalism is a response to this challenge. The contest is not just economic, but between two systems, free markets versus state control. The stakes are nothing less than the future of the global order. America's withdrawal from international institutions has left a vacuum that China is eager to fill. The U.S. exit from the Trans-Pacific Partnership handed China a strategic win in Asia. China's RCEP now stands as the world's largest trade bloc, centering Asian supply chains around Beijing. America's pullback extends to other bodies like the WHO and WTO, weakening global cooperation. This signals to the world that multilateralism is out, and every nation is on its own. The result: authoritarian states benefit, and global rules erode. America's strength has always been its alliances and leadership in setting global norms. Acting alone, the U.S. isolates itself and weakens the democratic world's collective power. China's influence is transactional, but America's is built on trust and shared values. By neglecting alliances and institutions, the U.S. squanders its greatest advantage. The competition with China is not just about economics, but about who leads the world order. America's retreat risks ceding that leadership. Unilateral economic nationalism is a dead end for America. Protecting workers is vital, but alienating allies only weakens the U.S. position against China. The solution is not isolation, but renewed engagement with a coalition of like-minded nations. America needs to empower its allies, coordinating industrial policy, setting shared tech standards, and presenting a united front at the WTO. A coalition of advanced democracies has far more leverage than America alone. This requires recommitting to multilateralism and rejoining key trade agreements like the CPTPP. Restoring leadership in Asia and reforming global institutions would show allies America is a reliable partner. Fixing, not paralyzing. The WTO is essential for fair, rules-based trade. The real choice isn't between old globalization and isolation, but a smarter strategic internationalism. America's strength lies in alliances, using power to convene, not dominate. This path is difficult, but it's the only way to secure U.S. interests and a balanced world order. The future depends on America's ability to lead with its partners, not alone.